back. I had to go down to the South Island last week. Flew down Wednesday morning. Got there about, actually it wasn't Wednesday morning. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon I flew down. I had to delay the flight. Not the whole flight. I just got on a different plane, just to get that clear. And got there, jumped in a hire car, drove 2 hours north. Got into a little village called Cheviot at 5:30, I think it was. Around that time. Did the dreaded thing and opened up the work laptop. Yes. Had to do some emails because I've been out of comms all day, pretty much. And it got to about 7 o'clock. I thought, it's about time for some tea. And there was one pub open in Cheviot. I think there only is one pub, restaurant-y type place. And went down and I got given some really bad news. And the bad news was that they'd finished serving and it was 7:15 p.m. They'd finished serving dinner at 7:15. Not even any bar snacks. There was nothing. So I just about turned and straight back out and went back to my room and watched telly. It was terrible. And it was really cold. And there was snow on the hills and I was hungry. Anyway, I found some stuff in the car, as I always stash, and that kept me going. Anyway, let's see who's in the workshop. There's more on my trip to the South Island coming, don't worry, that was just an abbreviation of the whole thing. Oh, there's all sorts going on this morning. It's very cold here at the moment. It was freezing this morning, 0 degrees. We've got frost on the roof of the house, frost in the garden. Poor little poo turtle, the little chimney we have, was frozen solid. Had to go and get some more cigarettes in poo turtle because the trailer is back on my ute, all loaded up, ready to go in the morning. More on that shortly as well. All these little segues, all these little hooks, aren't they? Hooks, that's what they call them. Simon is in the workshop. Morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Simon. Welcome back, sir. Did you not? Oh, hang on. Oh, bloody adverts. Honestly, who needs adverts? We'll get rid of that. There we go. Did you not go get a pizza? There aren't any pizza places in Cheviot. No. Mark Howe. Morning, Andy. Good morning, Mark. Welcome to the workshop, sir. Daniel Bedell. Hello, Mrs. Mechanic, Andy and crew. Well, Mrs. Mechanic might be watching, but I think she's still in bed. But she does often tune into the live stream. Gives me that extra viewer, right? Because it's on a separate internet. Yes, that's a win. One more view. Who else have we got? Jim K. Hello. Good morning, Jim. And sorry I had to cut you off the other day. I know it was really late for you anyway. You called me, obviously, but I had to cut you off. I was holding up the petrol station, I believe, from memory. Or was that another phone call? I don't remember. I was really tired. And yeah, I was knackered. Not quite as knackered as you were, but anyway. So, just Connor K. Good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Connor. Welcome back, sir. Real Daz. Morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Daz. Good to have you on board, mate. Connor, update on the ferries. Government's done a bit of an inquest into the whole, or a review of the whole ferry thing. And the ferry company, which is it's Kiwi Rail, have decided to run the current ferries for another 5 years. And, well, the government's not very happy with that, and the public are not very happy, because we've been due new ferries for a long time. Especially given all the problems that Inter-Island has had recently. But anyway, don't want to get sued, so, that's what it is. It's a fact. They've had a few problems. Now, back to the South Island. So, I had to go down there. I'll be very careful what I say, so forgive me if there's not too much detail, but it's more about an overview. I don't want to get into trouble, okay, because it is secret special stuff. The details are, at least. So I had to go down. There was an ROV down there that had a problem, and the problem was after it had been driven, so it's warmed up to operating temperature. It's been driven for a while, sort of reasonably high revs. The engine's working reasonably hard. And then you come to stop. So pretend you're a farmer. You've come across the field, maybe slightly uphill, come to a gate. You've stopped the machine. Engine revs have dropped to idle. And you're just about to get out to open the gate. and boom, engine stalls. Why would that be? So anyway, I had the diagnostic tool connected to gather live data, and I can see the data. I graphed it, so I could see that I chose the data pits that I wanted to look at. I had a hunch, to be fair, and on this particular ROV, the oil pressure light switch, or so the oil pressure switch, trips at 3 psi, which is really low, and it was tripping, and you could see it even when the engine didn't stall. You could see the switch just glitching, just triggering momentarily, but it wasn't enough to stall the engine. But when that glitch remained triggered for a couple of seconds, then the ECU would command the engine to turn off to protect the engine, because it's low oil pressure, right? So before I went out with the customer out onto the farm to do her daily chores, just nothing different, just do exactly what you normally do, because that's how you replicate. She gave me a really good description of the problem that was going on, and oh no, the cigarette's gone. We'll start another one. The data really tallied with what she was telling me, which was really, really good. It's very important to listen to customers, because they're the ones that operate the vehicle every day, and they get to they know what to expect from their machine when it's working correctly, and certain quirky things when a problem happens. It's those really fine details that can really help with the diagnostic. And unfortunately, a lot of technicians don't get the opportunity to speak directly with the customer. It's just a job card and whatever's written on there, and it's Chinese whispers, and you're sort of half working in the dark. Now, there was a fault code, but unfortunately on this particular model, I'm not going to say the brand, and I'm not saying it's the brand that I work for. On this particular model, there's the fault code for the low oil pressure is also shared, I know, by what we call the lean angle sensor, the rollover sensor on the vehicle. So if the vehicle's to roll on its side, the same thing would happen. The engine would turn off. So I can understand why the engineers have used the same system in the ECU, but it shouldn't be the same fault code. So anyway, this fault code was evident, and did it give me direction? Not the fault code, but on the live data, on the data pits, I did choose also the rollover sensor to see if that was glitching or there was a problem with the wiring, and that was rock steady, no problem. So I eliminated that from my investigation and looked purely at the oil pressure switch. And we got, I was filming the whole thing on GoPro as well, so I could sync the video to the events, and we were able to replicate it. 3 or 4 minutes driving across the field, stop at the next gate, and I could look at the data, and I could tell straight away when the engine was going to stall or not. It didn't stall every time. That's something to bear in mind. And after about half an hour or so of checking up on the sheep and going up in the hillsides, and we didn't quite get to the snow line, but it was snowing near the end of the trip. Bloody cold. I was able to replicate the fault without even driving the vehicle. We basically had instructed the lady to hold the engine RPM between 4,000 and 5,000 revs for about 90 seconds, and then come straight off the throttle. Sure enough, low oil pressure, engine stalled, commanded stall. So we dropped it down to a minute, 60 seconds, exactly the same. We could replicate it. Every time we did it, it would do it. 30 seconds, still stall. Wow, what's going on? We're bleeding oil pressure here. Engine sounds mint, no rattles, no noise, no nothing, not burning oil. There's just nothing. The engine's really good, and it had recently been rebuilt. So I then had to return back to the farm and do a physical inspection of the engine. And again, without going into too much detail, by removing a particular component, sorry about the vagueness, from the engine, I was able to inspect an oil gallery. And this oil gallery normally is blanked off at one end, because it's drilled, and then they put a blanking plate, a blanking thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Blanking thing over the end, and that was missing. It wasn't there. So of course we've got this probably about a 5mm drilling, maybe a 6mm drilling, open to atmosphere, and of course it's bleeding away some of the oil pressure. So a very simple thing to visually check. But for me, it was really important to go out on farm, listen to the customer, because that's what they really wanted. They wanted me to be there and to listen to them about their complaint and how serious it was for them. Because if you're going down a hill, remember, let's say you've gone up a hill, right? So the engine's working hard. You go over the crest, you go down the hill, and you come off the throttle and you're using engine braking. Well, the lady was telling me that sometimes the engine would stall under those circumstances as well. And then, of course, you lose your engine braking and you're going down the hill just on the service brakes, which is not ideal when you're used to using the engine braking. And on that particular model, it has really good engine braking. So it would feel a bit like a skateboard if you weren't a professional driver, then, you know, and ready to expect it to happen as well, then obviously a problem. So I wanted to document the customer complaint, document the terrain we're on through the GoPro, document the data, and then do the inspection. I had a hunch before we even set off what it might be, and sure enough, I could have just removed that panel and taken a quick visual. 5 minutes, job done, that's what it must be, right? But doing that doesn't help me to learn about the whole situation. What does the data look like? What does the actual information going into the ECU look like, and what does the ECU do based on that information? So now I've got a test that can be done in a workshop, and I can see now if I ask a technician to do a capture, obviously with the event occurring, then I can tell straight away what's causing the problem, and I can match up the symptoms. So it was a really, really useful trip, an educational trip for me, great for the customer, and of course I identified the fault, and it's a relatively quick fix as well, so the customer was quite happy. So didn't get home. I flew back up to Auckland. What time was it? Oh, it was a 12 o'clock flight on Friday. Landed, it was a bit late, landed just before 2, and finally got back to the truck about 2:30, and my phone rang as soon as I got to the vehicle. Just got my bags in there, phone rings up, half an hour phone call. And I'm like, oh, really? And it was an important phone call, so I had to take it. So I didn't leave the airport car park until about 3 o'clock, and I started to drive all the way down to Taupo. So I didn't get home till about 7:15 that night, which doesn't sound too late, but when it was a really early start, about 6:30 in the morning, it's a long day again, isn't it? And it had been 2 long days already, so it's that's why I'm pretty knackered, to be honest. So my apologies. No, we don't want that. Thank you very much. Right, where do we get to? So sorry about the vagueness. Those that know will have to join the dots. But Jim, you know all about it because I can share it with you. The learning from that is, like I said, just how important it is to listen to your customer and listen to the fine detail and ask questions when you're doing that kind of diagnostic. JJ, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. The Giants. Good evening, Andy and family. How is everybody doing? Cold. I've got the heater on down here. That's how frigging cold it is. Daniel Bedell, I just had to quit a project that I was on because the homeowner wanted me to use only 3 joists for multiple sheets of OSB, 3/4 by 4 foot 8 inches. I wanted to do it the right way by a 16-inch on center, and I got told, wow, well, the customer's, it's his money. I'm wasting money, time, and material. I'm wasting money, time, and materials. Yeah, so I quit the job. Fair enough, mate. You gotta keep your standards, and sometimes it hurts financially to do that. Connor K, I have no doubt that Kiwi Rail is great at operating trains. Yeah. I don't know. I don't go on the trains. Bloody expensive. Not that many of them. Most of them are freight trains. Train stuff for people in New Zealand is not really a big thing. There's a few tourist sections about where you get to go up a hill and things somewhere. And there is one that goes down through the South Island. But I don't know how popular it is. It's not. I did see it once. I was in a town and it went past, and it was only 3 or 4 carriages. It's not really a big money earner for them. The freight, on the other hand, there's a lot of freight trains around, which is good, but there should be more. Daniel, the job is to frame out a secondary flat roof with a full bubble of slope. Wow. I take it you're referring to your spirit level at that point, full bubble, whatever that is. So that's quite steep then, maybe. Simon, freeze frame data is a good one. Is good on that brand too. For the sake of an hour with the customer, you've added value to the brand too. Yes, most definitely. When I first arrived, the customer, it was husband and wife, they were quite skeptical. They were on the back foot. They were very open to listening to me. And I started right from the beginning, cards on the table. And I even told them there and then, there's 2 possible things that I think it could be inside that engine that could cause that problem, knowing it had just been rebuilt, right? So we're looking for with missing parts. Can't say any more than that, okay? But also, I needed to know, the critical element was it something on the vehicle that was causing the engine to stall? So let's say low oil pressure or fuel pump stops or spark, there's a problem with the circuit on the ignition side of it or whatever. Was it something on the vehicle causing the engine to stall? And of course, because it's not a commanded stall, you'd get the fault code, low oil pressure, okay? Bear with me. Or is it a fault in the engine causing low oil pressure? ECU then decides, so that then you get a fault code flagged, and then the ECU decides to shut the engine down. And it's very difficult to tell without looking at that live data. There was another telltale that I learnt during the trip, because I don't drive these machines all the time, and I certainly don't drive machines often with faults. I now know that when it's a commanded stall, so even if the vehicle was to go on its side and it was a lean angle sensor that had triggered, if you don't turn the ignition off and just try to crank the key, then the engine management light will flash, preventing the engine starting. Now, I think the engine does crank, but it just doesn't allow fuel to be supplied to start the engine. It cuts the injection. If you turn the key all the way off and then back on and then crank, the engine will start. So, and again, a very simple check that I can now ask a tech to repeat that process, and then I can tell straight away without any diagnostic or data, is it a commanded stall or is it a stall that the ECU doesn't want to happen? It's just a standard engine stall. And again, that gives you really clear direction of which way to go. So it was a really good trip. I did enjoy it, and I was pretty knackered, but I felt when I drove away from the farm that I'd done about the best possible job that I could have done. I'd appeased the customer, I'd organised the repair, I'd gathered all the data that I needed, I'd justified everything, and then by looking at the engine, I was proved correct to what my theory was. I had a theory at the start, which I know you shouldn't always have with diagnostics, but I still followed due process, and that's the important thing. Anyway, so I got home about 7:15 on Friday night, and I had my axle, got the new axle, I managed to go out really early on, no, actually, it was Thursday afternoon. I had enough time on Thursday afternoon to scoot down and pick up the axle, the new axle for the trailer, swap the brake shoes, because they gave me one box of incorrect brake shoes, got some more stake nuts. And so on Saturday, I had everything I needed to get the trailer fixed, because during that week, I then found out that I have to drive all the way to Gisborne and then turn right when you get to the sea and head south down to Wairoa. So I've got to go to Wairoa next week. I'm doing some training on Tuesday, I think it is, with a chap. And then on the Wednesday morning, well, I might have to go back on Wednesday morning, but on Wednesday sometime, I then head down towards Napier, hang a right, stay alive on the 5, head back to Taupo, and then home from there. And I have to take a vehicle with me to do the diagnostic tool training. So hence why I had to have the trailer, because I can't do the training without a vehicle. And they didn't have a vehicle. So I've dug an ROV out of the garden, stuck it on the trailer. It runs, which is great. That'll do the trick. It's full of cobwebs. Some of the tyres are a bit low as well, actually. I should blow those up before I go. So yeah, that's quite a trip, actually. From here to Gisborne, down to Wairoa, and then, the whole route is about 750 kilometres. Now, that might not sound a lot. That's what's about 500 miles, something like that. It's still a fair trek to go and do a day's training. Hey, Andy, why don't you fly? Can't fly. There's no planes from here. I'd have to drive to Auckland and then get on a plane to fly to Gisborne, and then I'd still need to get a hire car to drive south for 2 hours. So, and plus I couldn't take a vehicle with me, so I have to drive. So yet again, more drivey drive. This is probably Mrs. Mechanic telling me off for saying too much. Oh no, Simon Roll sent a photo. Sent many photos. Ooh, you don't want to be that person, do you? Look at that. Sump, plug, thread, clean up, restore, rethread. Ooh. Is it sump? I think it is. Yeah, it is sump. Yes, it is sump, without a doubt. Good luck, Simon. Oh, well. So you had to take the sump off in the end. That's a photo from the inside of the sump. I've zoomed in a little bit. There you go, look. Zoom me out. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, it cracked off. So the spot welded captive nut that's on the inside of the sump had broken free of its weld and was spinning. That's a bad thing. I've only ever had that happen once. And then you brazed in a new one, look. Good man. Well done. It's nice when things go right. What I did last week went really right. It's not often. When you're heading out onto a farm in the middle of nowhere, got no internet, there's not even you can't even make phone calls on that farm, but it's just a dead zone, right? It is quite daunting. You've got this really high expectation for the customer, the pressure's on. And usually by the time I get called in to do something like that, it's usually the last resort, and there's been a bit of time has been ticking by where techs have tried to solve the problem, and they've failed. They haven't been able to identify the issue. Sure, they've gone through lots of stuff, but they haven't actually pinpointed the problem. They've eliminated some things that we knew were good. That was helpful. But again, with diagnostics, never trust. It sounds awful, but you can't trust anything that anybody previously has told you. You've got to start from scratch, because otherwise things get missed and you end up going down massive rabbit holes. Oh, coffee's going cold so quick. Where do we get to? Here we go. Yes. Hi, just watched a 7-year-old video and randomly saw your live stream, mate. Hey, welcome to the workshop. Older Andy. There you go. I do look so different now to what I used to look like. Hi, thanks for the help with the KYB forks. Anytime, mate. It's amazing how the old videos, especially, have really helped people out. The new videos that go out, it's quite weird, actually, because I've got more subscribers now than I've ever had. I think we're up to 93,700 or something, which is great. We're heading in the right direction. Although it's slowed down a bit recently. I don't know why. There's a lot more channels on YouTube, though, to be fair. That's probably what it is. But the new videos that go out, they take a long time to get going. But saying that, the CB750, the K2 stuff, whether it's fitting coils or doing ignition checks or whatever, all the videos are really popular, but they took quite a while to get going. So that's, you can't really, You know, if you expect when you put a video up to get tens of thousands of views instantly, it can be a massive channel to get that kind of stuff. But over time, give it a year, couple of years, those views do rack up, and it's great to see. But not all videos do well. It's quite bizarre. You can't really, you can't plan, you can't expect. It's just what happens. Simon sent me some photos of an oil change on my van. Go the way your axle nut. Oh, it went the way your axle nut did. Sump plug stripped. So I tried to tap out to the next size. The weld in the bung came out. Or at least it's your own van, which I suppose it's a bit of a ball ache. Nobody's paying you for it. But yeah, shit happens, Simon, doesn't it? New updated pump is now. New updated pump is no now. Nuts. What the hell? Oh, nuts is a 10-minute oil change. Oh, it went from a 10-minute oil change to a 2-hour oil change. Well, at least you got it fixed. That's the important thing. For Giants, Simon, that what vehicle was that sump plug from? Pete Woodfine. Hi, Andy and crew. Good morning, Pete. Simon, a 2007 Citroen Berlingo. So it's lasted 17 years. I remember, here's a story about, I haven't really done much on Citroens, to be fair. I've tried to do my very best to stay away from them. I'm not a fan of Citroen. Sorry, Simon. When I worked, I can talk about this. When I worked as a rep, I've done all sorts of rep work actually over the years. As a rep for Partco. So Simon, tell me if Partco's still in business. And I was split between two branches, Selby, which was great, but they had sort of more genuine customers, long-standing customers, that kind of stuff, and then York. And this is going back a while. Kevin at the time, he isn't the boss anymore. He was the boss at the time. He was an absolute rogue. I'd only been there a few weeks, and I heard him talking to a customer on the phone. This is a garage owner, mechanic, whatever, telling him that the parts that he needed were already on the van and heading out to him as he was speaking to him. I knew the parts hadn't even arrived at our shop in York. They hadn't even been delivered to us. We hadn't even picked them up from wherever they were coming from. He just lied through his teeth to upset people. What's going on here? To try and solve problems. It was really bad, and it did catch up with them in the end. Anyway, we had a fleet of little Citroen vans. Oh God, they were red. I don't know what they were, but they were definitely Citroen. And I was driving one day, and all of a sudden the pedals felt really weird, and the whole pedal set. So the clutch, brake, and maybe the throttle as well, I'm not sure, but certainly the clutch and the brake, which were mounted to the bulkhead, were breaking off the bulkhead. The bulkhead had cracked around the bracket for these two pedals, and the whole thing was sort of just flexing, as opposed to the pedal actuating the clutch, for example. The whole block was just flexing down to down towards the floor, and it made it quite hard to change gears. So I had to resort to clutchless gear changes to get home. And of course that vehicle was condemned, and it got parked up. And there was another one, so they gave me another machine, and that one I had to go up to Helmsley one night, because you could use it for personal use. That was part of the contract. Use it for personal use, and I went to go and see my mate Neil at Helmsley, and he lived right up on the moor, and it was middle of winter, and it was snowing hard, and I had to get these parts to him because he was desperate for them for his little Jeep. And there was some snowdrifts, and it was pitch black. Snowing, it was like a blizzard. I really shouldn't have been there. 2-wheel drive, little van. Luckily, it had skinny little tires on it, and I was absolutely flat out in this little van. It was a diesel, poor old diesel engine, was revving its nuts off. Slowly climbing up this hill, got on the level, and then I started to hit these snowdrifts, and they just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was hitting them faster and faster and faster because I was all on my own. Blasting through these snowdrifts, just complete whiteout for like 20 seconds. Luckily, the road was dead straight. Finally got down to his farm, gave him his parts. He gave me a tow back up the hill with his tractor, And then luckily it was sort of just a little bit downhill most of the way down into Helmsley, and I was able to, I'd already broken through most of the snowdrifts. Got home that night. Next morning, came to start the van, didn't sound happy at all. It sounded quite rattly. Yeah. So I limped it into work, popped the bonnet at work, and there's oil basically coming out between, of the rocker cover, head gasket area, up through the injectors. It was not happy. It started to smoke on the way into work as well. So gonna need another van. I've broken another one, or another one's broken. Didn't tell them where I've been, obviously, but yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. It really was. And then they gave me a little Citroen AX. They seem to like Citroens. I don't know why. Must have had a contract with Citroen nationally, So this little Citroen X, it was diesel. It was tiny. It felt like I was driving a skateboard. And I ran that for a few months, and then that blew up. So I got rid of that, and I think I left at that point. I think that maybe I handed it back, and it was pretty knackered, to be fair. They weren't very durable, Citroens. They didn't like being caned, and it has a rep, Not now. I'm a lot more sedate now. Back then, it was a rally car. Anything I drove was a rally car. Anyway, Pete Woodfine. I used to have one of them. Good one. Wow. Okay. Must have improved a lot since when I drove the old Citroens. Pete Woodfine. Richard Perry. Hi, Andy and crew. Hope all are well. Big GB flag. Thumbs up. Cheers, Richard. Pardon me. Simon, you don't know about Parker. Oh, really? Okay. Andy, the Citroen killer. Yes, very much so. Citroens and me just do not get on together at all. I remember at college, we did a little field trip. I have got a pie. We haven't done it yet, so the pie is going to go in the warmer. In fact, let's go do that now. Let's do the pie in the warmer because I'm getting hungry. And I'll tell you all about the other Citroen story. Right, here we go. So this is a Bake Shack steak. We've not done a Bake Shack steak. In general, Bake Shack tend not to score particularly high. They're a budget pie for New Zealand. $4.80. I say budget. That was the price of a bloody decent pie a couple of years ago. Anyway, square, so quite distinctive. Corners, looking pretty good. Base is all right. It's got a little crack there. Look, is it a crack or just a line? No, it's just a line. It's where the cookie thing was, the rack. Okay, right. Let's go and stick this in the pie warmer because I am getting cold. Bear with me because there's all sorts going on here. Right. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Okay, go slow, Andy, because YouTube doesn't like it. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 to the pie warmer. So good to have a pie again. Right. I mean, okay. I have to say I have had pies during the week, but it's so good to look. Honestly, look how tidy this machine is. Absolutely amazing. There are quite a few videos in the can on this machine. If anybody's got a service manual for this Big Red Honda 300FW, email it to me. I need a service manual. I can't find one. I don't even know what year it is. So if you've got any ideas, I know it's pretty old, then help me out. Send me something. Send me a link to download a service manual. I need specs for the next few videos. Right, turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Okay, so that's in. We've got a cigarette to finish off. Oh, I should stop really. Right. So yes, this other Citroen. So I was at Loughborough College doing my 2-year higher national diploma in motor vehicle engineering and management. I took some remembering. And one of our lecturers got a day trip organised, a visit to a local dealership, which was a Citroen dealer. And we went in, and he had a brand new Citroen up on the hoist. I think we were just PDIing it or servicing it. It was a current model, one of the higher end ones, and it had all the posh, hydrostatic suspension and stuff that Citroen have. And we were looking around underneath at all these basically these, what looked like brake pipes, there's pipes everywhere under this vehicle to control the suspension, this self-leveling suspension and stuff. And I was looking at it going, man, and I said it out loud. I said, man, that's going to be an absolute nightmare when that car gets older. All those pipes are going to rot out. They're going to need to be replaced. And they're all really tucked in, there's lots and lots of bends on them. And there's loads of them. And he looked at me and went, yes, that earns us a lot of money over the years. And I'm like, poor customers, they go and buy these cars. The marketing team promote this wonderful suspension system. And they go and buy these cars, and then 4, 5, 6 years down the line, and don't forget, in England, they often salt the roads, so it's just rust city. They're going to be constantly replacing those pipes. And the guy, the owner of the business, was just so happy. He says, yeah, we make loads of money replacing those. It's brilliant. It's a great money earner for us. And I just felt really bad for the customer. And I was just looking at the car and it's not the kind of car I'd ever want to own. Because I want something that's reliable and doesn't cost a lot of money to run. It was just went completely against the grain just to have better suspension. There was me driving an old Suzuki Jeep at the time. I was quite happy with that, bouncing my way down on little leaf springs. I just didn't see the point in it. I still don't really. Cars have become so frigging complicated nowadays. Hi Andy, how was the pork pie? The pork pie was actually really nice. I had it, I think I had it for lunch, actually. Or dinner. I can't remember now. I ate it. It was alright. It was cold. Pork pies you eat cold. And it was okay. Oh, hang on. What's this? Hang on. There's a Pete Woodfine. Simon. Franco Philly is our Andy. Franco Philly. What the hell does that mean? Franco Philly. Is that a person? Google. I've never heard that before. Franco Philly. What are you guys calling me? Oh, what was it? Noun. Markedly friendly to France or French culture. Oh, that's classic. I suppose wasn't Franco one of the presidents of France or something over the years? I don't know. History. I didn't do history, but I did do history at school. I didn't do very well in history at school. Didn't see the point of it because you can't change it, right? Funny one, Pete. Simon, the 1.9 non-turbo 1.6 HDI engines are bulletproof. I don't know what it was in the van. It was diesel, and it was pretty small, and it was very slow. Yeah, it took ages to get up to speed. Old school diesel it was. Pete Woodfine. Andy, how's the pop? I don't know what. Pete Woodfine. Someone who doesn't like the French. Yeah, I don't have a problem with France. I've been there a few times. At the Triumph, done the touristy thing, been to see a concert. Was it a concert? Yeah, I think I was to see a concert there. I can't remember now. Honestly, it's so long ago. Quite like some of the French food. What is it? French onion soup. I like that. Nice, really nice. A little bit of cheese on top. Can't go wrong. But the cars, and we used to. Don't forget, after we were Nissan dealers, family business in the UK, years and years ago. Not really a business that I got too involved with because I was still a kid at the time. We switched to Renault, and we went from super reliable brand with hardly any warranty to Renaults, which were plagued with warranty repairs and reworks and stuff. I mean, again, made us a lot of money as a dealership. We employed more mechanics just to cover the extra warranty work. But you got to feel for the customers, the cars just, I mean, they drove all right. They were quite comfy to drive around and stuff, but just weren't quite as reliable. Weren't so much of a workhorse. I mean, saying that, we had a Renault Traffic and then a Renault Master van that we used, and that seemed pretty reliable. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my perception of French cars. So they're just a bit different, that's all. You know, the focus is a lot more about how they look, how they feel, the plushness, the ride quality. Whereas Nissan at the time was more, this car will get the job done and it will not fail you ever, you know. A little bit more clunky. I mean, again, the gear change on the Nissans was real positive. It was click, 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 you know. I liked that. You could feel the detents. On the Renaults, it was, well, somewhere down here's third. Oh, no, that's fifth. Oh, there's third. You know, it was just a bit, it was just different. And I didn't like it. I liked the precision of the Nissans at the time. And of course, the Nissan Patrol was out, you know, for sale. The original Nissan Patrol with the leaf springs. I remember driving into, a little story for you, driving into Strensel. It was a red 2.8 petrol long wheelbase, 7-seater. I don't know why we had it. I think Dad, we didn't often have patrols at the dealership because we were a city dealer. But he came home in that one day. I was maybe using it for a few weeks. And there's a humpback bridge as you come into Strensel. Well, there's a few actually, but this one was from Sheriff Hutton, where I used to live, into Strensel. And there was a tannery on the right-hand side that, you know, did leather and stuff. And I was always looking at the tannery as we went past, see the lads with the forklifts and things. And we were in a bit of a rush. And it was storming over this humpback bridge to try and get some air. So we jumped the bridge. And there isn't a lot of stopping distance from the bridge to a T-junction onto quite a busy road. Now, in his Nissan Silvia, not a problem, you know, brakes are really good, and it weighs, what, a third of what the Patrol does, or maybe half, I don't know. We came booling over this bridge, there's traffic at the T-junction stationary. Dad's like, shit, slams the brakes on, and of course, no ABS on an old machine like that. And man, he was really struggling to get that Patrol stopped before we didn't quite hit the car in front of us. But we weren't far off his bumper by the time we came to a halt, and he's like, ooh, that was close, Andrew, wasn't it? Yes, Dad. Thanks for that. And of course, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt because nobody wore seatbelts back then. And when we went over the bridge, I'll be straight out of the seat, you know, head up against the roof of the truck, the headliner. And it came down with an almighty crash. It was quite a good jump. Well done, Dad. Coffee's stone cold now, just to give you an update. Oh, here we go, look. Tessafun. Hello, Mr. Andy, the mechanic, thank you. Have a question about battery charging series parallel. How much we can charge at a time, thanks a lot. The problem, if you're trying to charge batteries up in series, that's not a great idea, to be perfectly honest. Because you got a 12-volt battery and you put another 12-volt battery in series and you're connecting them together, you've got to run 24 volts, or actually a bit more than that for charging purposes, through that circuit. And if you put 3 on it, it's 36 volts. And it all gets a little bit high in the old voltage. Plus, you need a battery charger that can do that. If you're going to charge batteries, you know, you charge them in parallel. But again, you know, modern battery chargers, they're sort of sensing the battery, and they can tell what's going on. And if you've got one battery that's fully charged and one battery that's discharged, it's probably going to give up charging the one that still needs charging. I wouldn't suggest that you should do that. I think charging a battery should be on its own, unless you've got a special charger that can charge a number of batteries at a time. And they usually have separate leads for each battery. We've got one at work that can do, I think, up to 6 batteries. They've got it in the marine shop. Battery Tender, I think it was called. Battery Tender. It's quite old. I think it's American. I don't know. I don't use it, to be fair. But no, if you're going to charge a battery with a standard battery charger, just one at a time, really. That's the best way. I know it takes a while. Sheldon, good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Sheldon. I bet it's bloody nippy in Oamaru this morning. Nippy as in cold, by the way. Here it's 0 degrees, and it's going to be 0 degrees until about 10 o'clock, I think Mrs. Mechanic was saying. So by the time you finish your live stream, it'll still be freezing outside. Simon Roll, remember the guy over the road has a Renault diesel. I hate it. Sorry, it hated cold starts. The glow plug seized solid. Got sick of him knocking at 5 a.m. So showered a. Hang on. So showed a hairdryer in the intake will start it. Oh, so you to warm the air up a little bit. Wow. That's a trick I never thought of doing, actually. Go and grab the missus hairdryer. Funny. Sheldon. Oh, yeah, one hell of a frost here. It's frosty here as well. We've got frost on the roof of the house. Now, that's not because the house is super well insulated. No, that's because it's bloody freezing in the house. We don't have central heating. We're not currently running a fire in the lounge. We've got a little, a half, and we often burn wood through the winter time. We haven't done that this winter, to be honest. It needs I need to make a new plate to go on the inside of the hearth. It's all burnt away and stuff underneath. The baffle, then they call it. Completely rotted out and stuff, so it needs a new one of those. We had a guy come down to fix it, and he couldn't fix it. He says, I can't do that. So anyway, he went away. We might have even paid him. I don't know what we did, but he made a complete botch of the whole thing. So we sort of stopped using it, to be honest. And we've got a little heater in the lounge that we huddle around while we're watching TV on an evening, whilst the rest of the house is getting really cold. So we're living in the land of hot water bottles on an evening now. Connor K. So many European car manufacturers are the most common cars on the streets in Portugal are French brands. There are good alternative choices. I think German cars are number 2. Yeah, I mean in Europe, most people buy European stuff, and that's fine. I totally understand that. Here in New Zealand, the other side of the world, European cars are seen as prestigious cars, a status symbol. You go and buy yourself a Volkswagen or a Renault or a Citroen. There's not many Citroens here, to be fair. Because they're different, Mercedes, they're very prestigious here. There's quite a few Beamers around, but the Mercs are a bit more high-end, I think, or considered more high-end here. Very expensive to fix, though, when they go wrong, because there's not that many people here that can do it. But why would you buy a brand of vehicle where all the parts to fix it, other than the basic service stuff, all the parts are on the other side of the world, and they take quite a while to get here? Same with sort of KTM motorbikes, I mean, I've got a couple myself, and I've had really bad experiences getting parts for those. Very, very long delays. Months and months and months of getting parts for KTM. So to me, you might like the look of it, but you're not looking at the bigger picture. Buy something which you can readily get parts for. And over here, Japanese cars are by far the most prominent. They were up until a few years ago, before these stupid electric cars came in. And getting parts for those is pretty easy. Even the oddball stuff, because in New Zealand they brought a lot of sort of parallel import vehicles in from Japan. There's a 3-year inspection in Japan that usually costs a lot of money to get your car through, so that after 3 years the car gets exported. A lot of those cars came to New Zealand, so you get a lot of weird, quirky variants on the same model that you'd see in England. So it's, and with quite bizarre, slightly different parts on those vehicles, almost like the manufacturers deliberately made things a little bit different, so you have to buy genuine. Pain trying to find parts for them if they're the parallel imports, but if it's a standard Nissan, easy peasy. But even then, there's companies that are set up specifically to provide parts for those oddball Nissans and Toyotas and things. JJ. Andy, get a cheap microwave in the workshop to reheat your coffee. I know you keep telling me, but I don't know. Mrs. Mechanic will be out of bed soon. She'll bring me another one. I have, when I'm in the office, which is equally as cold, I have a heater in the office, and I've learnt now to put my coffee on the heater, and it stays a lot hotter for a lot longer. It's great. How long did that take me to work out? Ah, so the title of this live stream. Sorry, I think I've caught a bit of a cold on my last trip. Just being around so many people on planes and things, it's not. I just don't enjoy it. But anyway, usually get something along the trip somewhere. Maybe just because it's cold. So today, I either finish the videos. The BIGRED's in for a service. Okay, just a basic service, engine oil change, diff oil, final drive oil, that kind of thing. There was a new battery to fit to it because there was a problem with the electric start system on the bike. Done that, done the battery, done a check of the starting system. Seems okay. Mechanically, it's making a bit of a whine, but that's probably because of a dry bush in the starter motor. But again, I'm not fixing it because it's on a budget. Which is a shame because it's a really, really tidy bike. It wants looking after, not running on a budget. But anyway, so I've got diff oil to do, final drive oil to do. There might be a gearbox or transmission oil to change as well. I'm not sure. I haven't really had a look. I haven't serviced one of these before, so it's interesting to do it. And then I've got to go through the brakes, check all the brakes seem to be pretty good actually. I've got to whip the wheels off, whip the drums because it's drum brakes. Whip the drums off, take a little look, and maybe just service them. Pivot points and that kind of stuff. Adjust them up if need be. I think they're hydraulic anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm not going to bother changing the brake fluid. Again, there isn't enough money in it to do it. Tire pressures, that kind of thing. And he did have a customer complaint actually. When he's going really slow, the vehicle seems to lurch forwards and backwards a little bit. So I suspect that one of the rear tires has gone out around. It's got some lift on it. I don't think it's a bent axle. I don't think it's a bent rim. I think it's that the tires are pretty old, and I think they've just gone out of shape a little bit from being parked for so long. I don't know. We'll check it out. And then that wires. Sorry, I just knocked my cigarette. So that machine, the BIGRED's got to go back up to Auckland a week on Monday. Has to go back because they need it back. He's got a job for it, hence why he's getting it. It's been parked for a long time. Corrosion-wise, it's mint. The fuel tank is like a brand new one, but he assures me it's the original tank, which is amazing. I've never seen one as good as that. And Ben is scheduled to come down next weekend, and he's already booked my time. We replaced the front upper A-arm on his ute. It's torsion bar at the front. About a year ago, because the bush where it connects to the chassis was completely shot. Well, the driver's side's done the same now, so he wants me to do that side, and at the same time he wants a new wheel bearing in there and a new ball joint to put in as well. So assuming he gets all the parts, I'll be doing that. Will I film it? Probably not, because it's a shit of a job, because the A-arms don't fit very well. It's very hard. I had to cut off on the replacement A-arm when I did the left-hand side. I had to cut off the mount for the brake pipe to physically get the thing into position. It would not go in because of the inner wing into position with that in place. I had to cut it off, fit it, and then weld it back on again, and then paint it black, because the welding that I did on the A-arm would be considered potentially as a modification to the suspension system on the vehicle. And here in New Zealand, any modifications to suspension systems need to be certified. So Ben would have to go for a low volume vehicle certification, which is about $500. So of course we had to make it look factory and paint it the right color paint. It was gloss black, I think it was, or satin black. So we painted it all up. It looked mint. And by the time we went back for a recheck, it got a bit of dirt and stuff on it. And the guy actually didn't even bother looking. He went, "Yeah, okay, mate, there you go, there's your warrant." And Ben's like, "Really? Did all that work and you didn't even bother checking it?" So we've got that to do next weekend. That'll definitely be a day. It might bleed into the following morning. We'll see how things go. And Ben will be doing some more work in his shed as well. So he'll probably leave me to do that job, and he'll go off and do something else in his shed. So I don't mind. I enjoy helping him out. It's good to keep the old pickup truck running, the old Ford Courier thing. Yeah, he likes it. He's still got the Patrol that's parked in the garden at the moment. He is finding it's. I mean, he says he made the right choice buying it, which is good. But for any kind of distance work and commuting and things, it's just so expensive to run. So I think he's going to convert it to a diesel. He's going to put a TD42 in it, I think, is the plan. But that's a bit further down the line. So it's more, it's an asset for him. He's got it. He's got one. He really likes it. It looks cool. It's got the tipper tray on it and stuff. You guys haven't seen it yet. We'll have to take it out for a little spin and do a video on it, I think, at some point, once I can save up for the fuel. But no, I think it'll end up being a diesel. Be a lot better on fuel being a diesel. You'll be able to afford to use it then. Renault own Nissan now, lol. Really? Renault bought Nissan? I knew there was a collaboration between the two companies. I didn't realise that they bought Nissan. That's terrible. USB coffee cup. I don't think this little laptop will give enough amperage out to run a coffee cup, to be fair. Connor K. Some Americans have moved here. Well, that's disgraceful. And shipped their cars from the US. Really? They have problems getting parts. They will. Buy local and learn to drive a manual. More practical. I like manuals. I really do. I mean, okay, I've been driving an auto work vehicle now for over 7 years. And yes, I am a little bit lazy. There's no doubt about it. And for long distances, you just get used to it. You just drive. I want to go. I want to stop. That's as complicated as it gets. And now and again, you do a bit of steering. With a manual, you're a lot more engaged. And the little Jimny we've got is a manual. Mrs. Mechanic would not buy an auto, and I didn't even consider buying an auto Jimny. I wanted a manual because we use it for off-road. We did the little monkey bike trip, which incidentally, can't tell you too much, but she's editing the next one. Woohoo! She's actually in process of editing the next episode. So, can't tell you what's in it, but I can tell you, she said I can. Mrs. Mechanic, remember you did say I could. She is on with editing the next episode, and it's going to be great. She's learnt a few more skills with her editing. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Simon, is that a diesel still registered as a petrol to get around the pay by mile you have on diesels? Simon, you're setting me up. Obviously not. Okay. Terrible. Right, cold coffee again. Ugh. Okay, so what's the plan for this week? Well, I quickly brushed on it. I've got to go over to Gisborne, which is the furthest town really, isn't it? Furthest easterly town in New Zealand. I've got to pick up an engine from there. Hang on, and I've got to go through Gisborne anyway to get to where I'm going. There is another route, but I'll go that way. They basically take about the same time. Pick up the engine, drop down to Wairoa. I've got 2 nights in Wairoa, and between the 2 nights I've got a day's training, and then round back to Taupo and home. Thursday, Friday, I'm working from home. I've got loads of admin work to catch up with. I've actually got some admin work that needs to get done. Oh, there's the pie. Before Thursday, so I've got to try and squeeze all that in as well within that trip on an evening. It'll happen, but again, long days. Next weekend, Ben's coming down. The weekend after, I'm up to Auckland on the Monday. That's the 12th of August, and then I'm gonna keep going and go up to Kai. The plan is to go up to Kaitaia, and I'm going to do some more dealer visits. Start my second round of dealer visits, and I always do the North Island first, and then I'll finish with the South Island, probably Sheldon, if you're listening, probably November. I'll be back in the South Island. December, I like to try and keep free. December's always a really busy month, usually, for motorcycle dealerships. and doing dealer visits during December is not ideal. Sometimes I'll bleed into the first week of December, but I like to have at least 2 or 3 weeks of December to get admin work done and get it all cleaned up before the end of the year, before I go on, go on a break. Although, to be fair, Mrs. Mechanic told me the other day, I've got to save my holiday days as much as possible, because obviously we're flying over to Canada for Charlotte's wedding next end of September next year. So we're going to try and have a nice long stint in Canada and drop into the US. Jim, we're coming your way. That's the plan. So yeah, it'll be great to finally get to the US. Never been. Quite excited. I've got to save up for that. Sheldon, great stuff. Mrs. Mechanic, looking forward to watching it. Good man. Keep the motivation going. She's quite excited now. She's finally got back around to doing it. She's had lots of other things going on the last few months, and it was just put on ice, but she's back on with it now. And looking at her editing style, I think what my plan is going to be, I'm going to give her one of my videos to edit up, because her style of editing is totally different to mine, and we'll see what she comes up with. It could be quite a laugh. It might not be very educational, and she might cut out some of the important stuff, but hey, it's all a bit of fun, right? And ultimately, I'd like Mrs. Mechanic to edit my videos, because that would save me a tremendous amount of time, which I can then focus on other stuff, i.e. the filming side of it. Right, the pie is ready. Just before we get the pie, actually, because we'll finish with the pie, the old axle is on the bench that came out of the trailer, so we can take a really close look at those threads. Here we go. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom! Okay, here we go. Right, so we'll let the pie just stand for a minute. If I grab a brand new steak nut, look at the threads on that. That's how they should look. Dum 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 dum. And we come over here. This is the good end of the axle. And you can see how beefy these are. You know, this is only a 2-ton trailer. It's got 2 axles. Massive stub axles. They're really good. But you can't buy the stub axles separate. That's the biggest problem. And I'm not too sure yet how the stub axle is actually welded onto the box section. There's some pretty beefy welds going on around here. So I'm going to do a video of extracting the faulty stub axle, and then we'll get one made up. I've got a man just in mind for that. So obviously when you fit the steak nuts, they're supposed to go on, you know, really nice, without any real sort of glitching, and, you know, finger tight all the way until you torque it down, right? So that's how it should be. And I'll give you a little close-up. I know it's a live stream, but I'll give you a bit of a close-up on how those threads should look. And I did do a video yesterday of fitting the new axle, so there's a bit more information in that as well. But if I do, in fact, what can I use? I could use that actually. Just bear with me. I'm just going to steal this little charger thing. There we go. So we can have a white background. There you go. And you can see those threads. So you can see the profile of those threads there. Look, against the white. And if we go around the other side. Dum 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 dum. Dum dum dum. Oh, hang on, Jared. I'm going to move your brake cleaner out of the way. And then we do the same thing with this one. Yes. Can you see they're pretty gone? The best 2 are these last 2 here, look. So if you just have another look at that profile, they're pretty mashed up, to be honest. And it was good that it survived. The nut that I put on, in fact, that's not even going on because of my weld. But anyway, you can see there, look how crappy it is. It made the right call. And there's not enough material left, even if I had the right size die, to actually clean those up. I don't trust them at all. And I have to trust my trailers because they go a long, long way. I mean, this trailer's been down to the South Island quite a few times now, and I'm sure it'll go down again at some point. So there you go. I mean, look at the spring mounts here. Look how beefy they are. Just massively over-engineered for a 2-ton trailer. And that's what I like about Eiffel Williams stuff. It's all really well built. I mean, the brackets here that hold this bracket is only to hold on the backing plate for the shoes. Look how thick it is. That must be 12, 13 millimeters of steel thickness. And there's 4 mounts. Absolutely amazing piece of kit, you know. Anyway, I'm getting hungry. Pie time. Bum, 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 bum. Bum. Oh. Welcome to the warm part of the workshop. It's nice and warm here. Okay, what have we got? So we've got a little bit of lift on the lid. The old puff pastry is definitely puffed up. We'll leave the door open. That'll only add to the warmth of the workshop, marginally. Oh, good camera work, Andy. Right, we'll stick it on the bag, because that's about the only clean place in the workshop at the moment. And we'll turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Unplug that now, because it's not working. Oh. I need to make a new door for my workshop. That door's about knackered now. So it's going to be a steel door, but I don't know when I'll get around to doing it. It still works. I made a new hinge for the top, and that's sort of holding the whole thing in place at the moment. Bloody hell, it's cold. Okay, so we need... Where's my pen? I did get a pen. Hey, I don't know where my pen is. Hang on a minute. Oh, no. Is it under my laptop? Yes, there it is. Okay, we have a pen. The red marker pen. So we're good to go. So this is, just for those that have just joined us, this is a Bake Shack steak pie. It cost $4.80, and this is what it looks like after it comes out of the pie warmer. So a quick squiz round for structural integrity. Now this pie is going to get cold pretty quick, because it is actually freezing in this workshop. It's like 0 degrees outside, and it's probably 0 degrees here. Apart from directly above the heater. There it's warm. Everywhere else is freezing cold. So I'm going to go in. You ready? Nothing but pastry. That was pure pastry. And it tastes just like pastry. There's no extra flavouring whatsoever in the pastry. And it's quite dry. You can see there, look, big chunks of pastry. So, has anybody found me a manual yet for this Big Red? I've not checked my emails yet. Maybe you have. More pastry. It's going to be quite hot initially, though, so I'll be careful, because I don't want to burn my mouth. I'm not a huge fan of Bake Shack pies, but they do get the job done. I can't knock them for that. They're not over expensive, and they're usually all right. You tend not to get a bad one. They're sort of usually just okay. They're never, wow, that was a nice pie. Yeah, I've never had that before with the Bake Shack. Okay, so I've just eaten a whole lot of pastry, so I can score that now. Pastry taste rating, pretty average, actually. Not gooey at all, and a little bit dry in some places. So I'm going to give it, I'll give it a 6. I think 6 is fair enough. Could be a lot worse. Okay, going in again. That was hot. That was really hot. That was burn tongue hot. Okay, we might have to give it a minute to cool down, because that was ridiculously hot. I wasn't expecting that, to be fair. I know it's just come out of the pie warmer, but I wasn't expecting it to be that hot. We'll have to go for nibble technique, because pie management is a critical thing in New Zealand, because you never quite know how hot the inside of the pie is going to be, and you've got to approach them with caution. Sometimes they're cold, sometimes they're okay, and like with this one, it's about as hot as... Actually, I pretty much lost all taste of my tongue from my tongue now. It's gone numb. That's not good. Okay, so Structure Foley Partners, it's doing pretty well, but I won't score it straight away because we've got a long way to go yet. Runnability, we can't quite do the runnability test. We've still got a bit of pastry wall here. I want to get the whole filling to be exposed before we do that one. We'll do a bit further down the line. Done that one. Still tastes when cold, it's red hot. Packaging design, let's do that one while it's cooling down a bit. So it's basically just a white bag, paper bag with black print on it. The only problem with the Bake Shack pies is the print tends to rub off pretty easily. This was in a pie warmer this morning. You can see that obviously in the bag it was, and the bag's a little bit charred. It's very, very dry as the bag. That probably explains why the pie is a bit dry, because it's been, in there for a long time, probably yesterday, maybe the day before, who knows. So pretty basic, but very distinctive. Bake Shack pie bags are, you know straight away without even reading the word Bake Shack that it's one of their pies. So a bit of thought gone in. Oh, why does this pie taste so awesome, Bake Shack says? Because it's been made the old-fashioned way, using the freshest natural ingredients. We hope you enjoy eating it as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Well, that's a big statement, isn't it? We will find out. MSG free, made fresh, and something else. Hang on, what's that one for? New Zealand owned. So they're still owned by a New Zealand person, which is nice. Okay, so as regards the packaging design, what shall I give them for that? You can't see the pie, there's no window, so you don't quite know what you're buying. I'm going to give them a 6. I think it's again, there's a lot worse out there, but there's a lot better as well. Recyclable score. It is just paper. There's no plastic liner on this bag, and it's got the recyclable symbols, so they get full marks for that. Well done, Bake Shack. You get a full 10 for that one. Pie server attractiveness. Well, it was purchased from the local petrol station, and it was a lady, sort of middle-aged. I would give her, she was like, oh, morning, how are you? Cold. Oh, yes, it is a bit cold this morning, isn't it? It's fucking, it's really freezing. Yeah, sorry, I nearly swore then. I'll give her a 6. I think she did all right. And she was very, very welcoming, so she gets points for that. That's what it's all about. It's not just about their physical appearance, it's about how welcoming they are, and I'll give her a 6 for that. Okay, what else can we score? Pie to crust ratio, we can do that one. So, as you can see, the filling is very, very thin. There's not a lot of filling in there. And that's what pies are supposed to be about. The pastry is merely a container for the contents. And there's a lot more pastry than there is contents on this pie. So it's going to score way down the list. So, pie to crust ratio, so the pastry to filling ratio, I'm going to give it... That's pretty dismal, isn't it? I'm going to give it a 3. That's pretty poor. There's a lot of pastry. So sorry, Bake Shack, but you want to get a 3 on that one. Availability stroke logistics. Well, Bake Shack pies are available in a lot of places across New Zealand. A lot of little dairies or corner shops. We call them dairies over here. Supermarkets sell them sometimes. They're reasonably readily available. Because the supermarkets sell them, you can buy them online through the supermarket website, and they'll get delivered to home. Obviously not hot, you've got to heat them yourself. If they're in a dairy, they're normally ready to eat. What do I give them? I think they should probably get a 7, actually, because they're available through supermarkets as well. I think they should get a 7 for that one. So 7 for availability stroke logistics. Meat quality, well, we've not had any yet, so I'm going to go in again now. It might have cooled down a little bit. Trying to keep it off the middle part of my tongue. Otherwise it'll cook my tongue. It's still very hot. It really is. Okay. Straight taste, stroke, flavour. So now I've eaten some. There's a lot of, if you can see, there's a lot of sort of filler gravy in there. There's not a lot of meat yet. And so it's one of those kind of companies that mix up that kind of brown gooey gravy stuff to fill in all the gaps, and it makes up quite a chunk of the contents. And when your contents are already that low, you know there's not going to be much meat in this pie, which is a bit of a shame, to be fair, because it's a steak pie and I'm expecting some steak. There you go. There's a bit of steak. Nice. Okay. It tastes all right. The taste is okay. I'll give it a 6. Structure Foley Partners, well, we're still going, so we'll push that one back a little bit more. We can do the runnability test, though. Wait. So 45 degrees, that's about 45 degrees, for 30 seconds. Can you see any movement? If I turn it around that way, look. Can you see any movement? It's hanging in there. There's no cheese in this pie, it's just a steak pie. So we tend to find when there's cheese, it acts as a bit of a lubricant, and it causes them to be a lot more runny. This one is absolutely rock steady. There's no movement whatsoever, and it's very, very hot. So that's full marks. Well done, Bake Shack. This pie is incredibly stable, other than the fact there's a bit of flaky pastry falling off, which there isn't that much, to be fair, but there's a bit. Oh my word. Simon sent you it on Messenger. Oh my word. Messenger. Let's have a look. What have we got? Mr. Roll. Oh, you got me the manual. Simon, you are the best. You are the best. Thank you very much, sir. I will download that later on. Very much appreciate that. That has saved the day. Because I like to have my videos to have some real, true, really helpful content. Not just me talking about stuff and doing jobs, but to have torque settings and volumes of oil and what type of oil you should use. All that's really important information for somebody doing that job. And that's what gives the videos value. So Simon, you've saved the day. Thank you very much. I did ask the owner to get me a manual. Honestly, I might as well just been pissing in the wind, because trying to get him to buy the right stuff. He says, "Oh, can you do the valve clearances?" Yeah, I'm the valve clearances, no problem. Can you get me the O-rings for the caps? You know, the inspection caps for the valves. Oh, do I have to get those? I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind. Oh, can you get them aftermarket? Well, just buy genuine. Oh, but they're more expensive. I don't care. I'm not charging you much for doing the job. Get me the proper parts. And I had to really push back, and it's like, come on, mate. I want the genuine part numbers for the video. Let's do it properly. Anyway, so he has got those. They're in my ute, so I'll go and get those later on. Okay. Big chunk of meat. That's good. And it's quite tasty. So meat quality. I'm going to score that now. It might change when we get further down the pie. So I'm going to give them an 8 for that. That tasted really good, actually. Well done, Bake Shack. That might be the only piece of meat in the entire pie, but anyway. Forgive me, I have to blow on the pie. It's just too hot. Sheldon. Oh yes, the land speed record road isn't that far away from you, so might get to come to see you if the stars align when the supercharged Hayabusa is up for that. That is brilliant news, Sheldon. It would be absolutely awesome to have you in my workshop. It really would. Because Sheldon's not been in my workshop. I've been to Sheldon's workshop loads of times. But Sheldon's not experienced the whole Andy Mechanic workshop. I'll give you a tour. It'll take about 4 seconds. It's not very big. It's nowhere near as big as your workshop. Okay. What have we got left? We can't do any more until I eat the pie, actually. We've got Structure Foley Partners. Too soon. Still tasty when cold. It isn't. It's very hot. Post-pie heartburn. You've got to eat the pie to do that one. And stuffability score. It's got to be consumed for that as well. So I'm going to crack on. Any more comments? Lots. Sheldon. Manual.lib for manuals. Thanks, Sheldon. Appreciate that. Simon. Supercharged Hayabusa. Ooh, you've got somebody's attention now. Is that a Hayabusa going to find a hedgerow very fast? They're all right in a straight line. Jim Haynes. Hey, morning, Jim. Rained out at Hagerstown Speedway, so I'm here a little late. All good, Jim. Good to have you on board, matey. Sheldon. Simon, I hope not. The aim is 400 kilometers an hour. Current record is 378. There's somebody at the door. Hang on. Oh, it's sunshiny. Thanks, honey. Right. Okay, good news. We've got fresh coffee. Thank you, Mrs. Mechanic. I really appreciate that because it's frigging cold in here. But the sunshine's out. Outside, there is sunshine now, so that's good. Right. Cheers, Steve. Oh, that's so good. Where do we get to? Simon. No, that just what I call a Hayabusa in general. John Nuttall. Hey, Andy. How is Holly doing? I don't know. Actually, I've not spoken to Holly for quite a while. I'm sure she'd be fine. If she has any serious problems, I'm sure she'd reach out and ask for some help. But no, I need to at least give her a phone call, make sure she's all right now. So I'll do that next week, John. But thanks for asking. Sheldon. Simon. Gotcha. Simon Roll. Same as cheap tires. Hedgemasters. Yeah, we used to call Bridgestone ditch finders. There was some Bridgestone jewelers, I think it was, and they were terrible in the wet on the four-wheel drives. You were all over the road. We all think the same way. John, hit the like button, lads and lasses. Okay, we're getting there. So another big chunk of meat. You can see all this sort of gooey gravy stuff oozing out all over the place. So that's 2 pieces of meat so far. It's not a lot, is it? It's pretty poor. There you go. We're getting there. Not much left to go now. It is still pretty hot though, which is good actually because it's warming me up, but my tongue's not happy. Okay. I think we can score the structure for partners. Now, there is a bit of shrapnel on the bench as regards the puff pastry stuff. So I have to mark it down for that. That's part of the structure. And if you're in your car, it wouldn't be a good thing. You know, you're going to have to hoover some people would have to hoover the car out. Others might just allow it to self-dissipate around the place and hide behind and under the seats and things. I'm not one for hoovering my car out, to be fair. It's terrible in there. But anyway, so I'm going to knock a couple of marks off for all the shrapnel, but the actual structure was really good. It was really a one-handed pie. I was probably only using 2 hands because I had to blow on it and it was so bloody hot. So we'll give them an 8 for that. That was pretty good. So they scored very high on the runnability and the structure. Meat quality. Now, we have to take into account the amount of meat in the pie within that category, because there isn't actually a category for how many pieces of meat there were. So I'm going to downgrade that now. There might be one more piece in here, so we'll keep going. Oh, there is. That was a big piece of meat. You can see the void where it was in the middle. So officially 3 pieces of steak in the Bake Shack steak pie. In my book, that's not enough. I mean, okay, the 3 pieces were quite large. They weren't little tiny bits. They were nice chunks. But I'd have liked to have had at least 6 pieces of meat in there. Twice the amount of meat that there was. And the rest of it is just the gravy stuff again. So you can see how much gravy there is in there, taking up the space. And of course, gravy's cheap, right? Cheap, a lot cheaper than meat. So, meat quality. Yes, it tasted nice. No, it wasn't gristly, but there was only 3 pieces. It doesn't deserve 8. I'm going to take that down to a 6. Okay, last piece. Here we go. Now, believe it or not, the last piece had cooled down quite a bit. So, still tasty when cold, i.e., if you find it in your glove box the next day, would you eat it and would you enjoy it? I think with the amount of gravy in there, that would sort of detract a little bit from the taste of the pie. I think the more meat you've got cold is better. I can't see it being as nice as the Wild Bean Cafe steak and cheese when it's cold. That's not a bad pie when it's cold, to be fair. I've had plenty of those cold. So I'll give it probably... we'll give it a 6. I think 6 is being generous, to be fair. I know the Wild Bean Cafe one will be giving it like 8 or a 9, so I'm trying to sort of pitch it on that. Stuffability score. Am I stuffed? Well, I've eaten a lot of pastry and I've eaten a lot of gravy. Am I stuffed? Probably going to ask Mrs. Mechanic for some toast and jam, actually, Mrs. Mechanic. Oh, pardon me. There's your heartburn starting. So I'm not fully stuffed. So it's going to be less than 10. I'm going to give it a 6. It's going to get a 6. I know it's quite low, but hey, that's the Ranger score, right? Post pie heartburn, I've had 1 burp. I can feel another one coming on. I'm going to give it 8 for that one. I am sure there'll be another burp. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All the scores are in. Done very differently to how we normally do it because of the heat of the pie. But it sort of worked out okay. I just couldn't eat it straight away because it was too bloody hot. Okay. Oh, my tongue. I can feel it now. It's zinging with the coffee. I hate having a burnt tongue. Right, let's get this this scores added up. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There we go. Right. You're going down. You ready? Excellent. Good sound effects. Okay. Right. So we've got 14, 24, 30, 33, 40, 46, 52, 58, 68, 76, 82, 88. That's what I make that. Tell me if I'm wrong. 88. And this was, sorry, you might need to still see the numbers. This was a Bake Shack. And it was just a steak. Now, I can't put very hot because that's not the steak's fault that I overwarmed it. Very little meat. That's my main take on that pie. Very little meat indeed. And they got a score of 88. And I just did burp again. So that's definitely validates the drop to 8 out of 10 for that one. Okay, you're going back up again. Okay, off to the scoreboard. Can we get around this way? I can't remember. Yes, we can. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. Bake Shack steak. Bum, 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 bum. 88. Oh, we've got a gap. Okay, we'll stick him up there, look. Hey, this one's not very magnetic, I noticed this morning. Whether it's the cold that can affect it or not, I don't know. It's a little bit, it's got a bit of a curvature on it. And the sad thing is, if we go in the cupboard, I've only got one more strip left. Look at that, that's the last one. And I get these done in 50s, and we've done 2 batches. That's 100 pies. Once that one's done, we'll have reviewed 100 pies. Very cool. Okay, so what's similar to the Bake Shack? So Oxford pies, steak and cheese, got 88, but they're not quite as readily available. Irvin's, which I think is shut down now, bacon and egg, 89. And then country chicken and bacon. You see, bacon always helps. That was from Countdown, 89. And Ronnie's Bakery, that's just down the road, 87. And Sheffield Pies, that's in the South Island, I think. Steak and cheese, 87. So, oh, and Bake Shack, there we are. Look, Bake Shack, steak, egg and bacon, 87. So, oh, another Bake Shack, steak and mushroom, 87. So, it's, you know, pretty consistent scoring from that particular brand. Pretty good. Happy with that. Right. We'll close that door, keep Mr. Ratty out. We're back to the bench. I've got a coffee and a cigarette, and then we'll have to call it a day, I think, because I've got stuff to do. As always, I'm sure you guys have as well. You don't want to listen to me rambling on all day long. Okay, turn you around. There we go. Man, my tongue is going... too hot. Was that, Andy? It was too hot. Okay, I'm in. Oh, that's better. Okay, we've got the coffee. Thank you, Mrs. Mechanic. Oh, it's got a bit shrapnel. Bit of pastry in the coffee. Okay, where do we get to? Simon Roll. More cider to drink, lol. Ooh. I don't think we've got any cider left, actually, in the fridge. We've got a couple of beers left, I reckon. Can't remember what brand they are. And I think Mrs. Mechanic's got some wine left, some white wine. She likes the white wine. She often puts some lemonade with it as well, so it lasts longer. She's very frugal, Mrs. Mechanic. I'll give her that. She's very, very cheap to run. In a nice way, you know. So today I will not be welding up the rest of the lawnmower deck. That's going to wait. I might do that next weekend once I've got Ben's ute finished. Because I quite like welding when Ben's around, because he often has little projects to do as well on the MIG, you know, make a few brackets for his shed and stuff. So I'll put that off till next weekend. And I mean, at the end of the day, this really is a bit more important than doing a lawnmower deck, which I'm not getting paid to do at all. You know, I want to get this quad bike back, and I've got a window to get it back to Auckland on the 12th of August, and he needs it back. So this is way more important, to be fair. So Simon, you've saved the day. That manual will allow me to finish those videos today. Thank you. Do appreciate it. Well, posted a bottle of Hawkstone cider to you this morning. Did you really? Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, mate, you are the best. You are absolutely the best. Let's see if it gets here. The little bottle of Hawkstone cider is going on an adventure halfway around the world. That's cool. That's really cool. I will keep my eye on the PO box and let you know when it turns up. Yes, hope it makes it. So do I. That's brilliant. And you're really good at wrapping stuff up as well. So if anyone can get a bottle of Hawkstone cider to New Zealand, it's you, Simon. You'll give it the best possible chance. So I'm probably going to end up filming most of the day, to be honest, because I've got to download that manual first, and that'll take me a while to get that sorted out, and then to extract the bits and pieces that I need from it. The actual amount of work involved left to do isn't that much, to be fair. But things take so much longer when you're filming. And as I get older, I'm a bit slower as well. So that's just the way it is. But I've got loads of videos to edit. I've got 3 videos on this bike already in the can that need to be edited. I've got yesterday's video on the trailer axle to edit up. So that's 4 videos to edit. And then when I was on leave a few weeks ago, I did 5 more videos, which are videos that will go out in the future, a long time in the future, hopefully. Yes, they're that kind of video. So yes, they'll get edited up at some point. Hopefully they'll survive on the hard drive. That's the important thing, the rushes. I have 2 hard drives, so they are backed up as well, which is nice. Peace of mind. Because I have lost videos in the past, and it's such a shame. Sometimes you can't redo it, you know. Once it's gone, and you just can't see that video. It's even worse when it's already been edited. Normally, as soon as I've edited the video, I will upload it to the channel and make it hidden. And at least that way, it's not reliant on my hard drive surviving. Because hard drives do fail, unfortunately. I know solid state drives are better, but for the amount of data that I have to store, they're very expensive. And I have probably 9 or 10, 4 or 5, maybe 6 gig hard drives kicking around that are all full of stuff now. Crazy. John Nuttall, Simon Roll. John Nuttall. Yami Noob Hayabusa. What? I don't get any of that. Oh, so it's going to be an early start tomorrow. But it can't be too early, because if it's frosty, you just got to let the roads warm up a little bit, because they can get really icy around here, and I don't want an accident. An update on the Ranger. I did check the engine oil. It is down a little bit. It is definitely burning oil when it's sat at idle for a long period of time. When you come to accelerate again, you get this little puff of blue smoke. So she's getting tired. And I've noticed it's not quite as powerful as it used to be. And it's done 193, nearly 194,000 Ks now. By the time I've done this run and been up north and back, it'll be up to about 196,000, I would say, approximately. It's on that Monday, on the 12th, it's booked in for a service in the afternoon. So I've got to leave early in the morning with the trailer and this Big Red on it. Drop the Big Red at the farm on the way into Auckland, leave the trailer at work, and then get straight round to go and do the service. And they're going to fit a driver's side rear light cluster as well. It's got a crack in it, which actually got a little hole in it, which is really bad. So I don't know how that happened, but that needs to be replaced. That's going to get replaced. And given the mileage now, it's probably due some more ball joints. On the front suspension, the ball joints are prone to wear. Well, you've seen them up there, the other ones that they hammered out at about 110,000, I think that was. Because usually about every 100,000 they need ball joints. So maybe they'll be all right for this service, maybe they won't. It's not due a warrant of fitness until, is it May? March or May, can't remember now. And I imagine the vehicle will be gone by then. But saying that, you know, they should be checking them during the service, and if there is play, they should be replacing them. One thing I found with Ford, this particular dealership anyway, is I get this distinct impression that they're not doing the service in accordance with the service schedule. They're just doing their own version of the service, which covers a lot less stuff, because they get the whole truck done. If there's nothing additional work to do, it takes them about an hour and a half. And I don't think that's quite enough to do everything that will be on the service schedule. So I'm going to question them, but I can't push it this time around because they can only have the vehicle for that afternoon. I need it back that evening before they close, because I have to drive north Tuesday morning. And I don't want to cancel the run. You know, it's important that I stay on schedule this year. I don't want to run out of time like I've done in previous years. So yeah, there's always deadlines. So many deadlines. It's crazy. It really is. Oh, and there might be an issue with the electrics as well, the charging system, because replaced the front dip beam bulb only a couple of months ago, and it failed again. I had to replace it last week. So I don't know what's quite going on there. I remember when my Commodore, that thing used to eat headlight bulbs, and they were prone for overcharging and blowing headlight bulbs. So is there a charging fault? Don't know. Haven't got my meter out. Not going to bother testing it. It works. It starts. It has been getting a bit harder to start in the mornings, but I'll put that down to the cold weather. Sometimes because it's an ECU controlled start, so you just turn the key and then it will crank for a set period of time until it starts. And it's failed to start a couple of times. You've had to go for the second crank. Other than that, it's tickety boo. Oh, and it could do with a new trailer lighting socket on the vehicle. That's getting pretty ropey now, to be fair. I have to keep cleaning it out and spraying it with stuff because the connectors are getting pretty poor. So she's getting tired. So I'll be looking forward to another Ranger soon. Ranger number 3. Woohoo! And I'd like to go for the same 3.2. I think for me, I think it's a better option than the what is it? Bi-turbo thing, whatever they are. The newer ones. Don't like them, to be honest. I prefer what I've got. Anyway, cigarettes done. Still a bit of coffee to go. I think we're about there, lads. I do, lads and lasses. Oh, an hour and 40. Holy crap. And he does ramble. Anyway, we've done a bit this morning. We've had a look at the axle in closer detail. We've done a pie. I've told you all about my schedule, about a diagnostic, as much as I could tell you. I can't tell you any more than what I've told you. I don't think I've overstepped the line. If I have, boss, I'm really sorry. Didn't mean to do that, but it is important. It's what I do as a job. And what we do on this channel is diagnostics. So the main take from that is listen to your customer. Very important. That information is critical when you're doing that kind of diagnostic, I think. Okay, crew. Thank you again very much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate your time listening to me ramble on for an hour and 42 minutes or whatever it ends up being. If you've not yet clicked the like, now's a good time. And well, stay safe. I'm going to keep busy and I'm going to get on with this Big Red later on today, and hopefully next week I might get a chance for a couple of evenings to do some editing as well. Certainly later in the week I'll be able to get some editing done, so you should see some fresh videos hitting the channel by next weekend, hopefully. All going to plan. Unless somebody else decides to change my plans, which can happen. All right, chaps. Until next time, thanks for watching. See you next time. Over and out.